The wrestling world thought they knew everything about the Ultimate Warrior until the final days of his life revealed secrets that left everyone stunned. What happened in those last moments before his death shocked fans and fellow wrestlers alike, and the truth is far more complex than anyone could have imagined. Before we dive into the incredible story of his final chapter, make sure you hit that subscribe button because you won't want to miss what comes next. James Bryan Hellwig transformed himself into one of the most explosive and unforgettable characters professional wrestling had ever seen. His painted face and rippling muscles made him an instant sensation, but behind the facade of invincibility was a man carrying burdens that would eventually contribute to his shocking demise. The warrior persona he created was so powerful that he legally changed his name to Warrior in 1993, fully embracing the identity that made him famous. This wasn't just a stage name anymore, it was who he had become, and that transformation came with consequences nobody saw coming. His rise to superstardom in the late 1980s and early 1990s was nothing short of spectacular. When he defeated Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6 in 1990, he reached the pinnacle of professional wrestling, holding both the Intercontinental and World Heavyweight Championships simultaneously. The energy he brought to the ring was unmatched, with his signature rope shaking and intense sprints to the ring becoming iconic moments in wrestling history. Fans couldn't get enough of his high-energy performances, and arenas would erupt when his music hit. But maintaining that level of intensity took a severe toll on his body that would haunt him years later. The physical demands of being the Ultimate Warrior were extraordinary. His workout regimen was brutal, pushing his body to extremes that few could sustain. He built a physique that looked like it was carved from granite, but the methods he used to maintain that appearance came at a cost. The wrestling schedule during his peak years was relentless, with performers working hundreds of matches annually, traveling constantly, and dealing with injuries that would sideline athletes in other sports for months. Warrior pushed through pain and exhaustion, believing that showing weakness would destroy the character he worked so hard to create. His relationship with the wrestling industry became increasingly complicated as the years went on. After his initial departure from the company in 1991, he returned multiple times, but each comeback was marked by controversy and conflict. There were disputes over money, creative control, and the direction of his character. Warrior was known for being difficult to work with, demanding things his way or not at all. This stubbornness cost him opportunities and burned bridges with people who could have helped extend his career. The man behind the paint was fiercely protective of his creation, but that protection often isolated him from the very industry that made him famous. When he left wrestling for what seemed like the final time, Warrior retreated from the public eye almost completely. He started a new life away from the spotlight, focusing on his family and pursuing interests outside the ring. He became a motivational speaker, channeling the intensity he once brought to wrestling into inspiring others to overcome obstacles in their lives. His speeches were passionate and often controversial, touching on topics that sometimes alienated fans who remembered him fondly from his wrestling days. But Warrior didn't care about pleasing everyone, he was living life on his own terms, just as he always had. The years away from wrestling didn't heal all the damage his body had endured. Former wrestlers from his era were dropping at alarming rates, victims of heart problems, drug abuse, and the long-term effects of a punishing lifestyle. Warrior watched as contemporaries passed away, each death serving as a grim reminder of the price paid for fame in the squared circle. He made efforts to distance himself from the darker aspects of wrestling culture, speaking out against substance abuse and advocating for healthier lifestyles. Yet the damage to his own body was already done, accumulated over years of pushing himself beyond reasonable limits. His relationship with the company that made him famous remained strained for nearly 2 decades. There were lawsuits, public disputes, and bitter feelings on both sides. Warrior felt he had been mistreated and undervalued, while the company saw him as difficult and unreliable. Fans caught in the middle could only hope for some kind of reconciliation that would allow them to celebrate his legacy properly. That reconciliation seemed impossible for years, with both sides dug in and unwilling to compromise. The wrestling world had moved on without him, creating new stars and new legends while the Ultimate Warrior became a complicated memory. Then something unexpected happened in 2014. After years of animosity, Warrior and the company reached an agreement that shocked everyone. He would be inducted into the Hall of Fame, finally receiving the recognition many felt he deserved years earlier. The announcement generated massive buzz among fans who grew up watching him dominate the ring. This wasn't just about burying the hatchet, it was about acknowledging one of the most unique performers in wrestling history and giving him his rightful place among the legends. Nobody knew then that this reconciliation would take on tragic significance just days later. The Hall of Fame ceremony took place on April 5, 2014, and Warrior delivered a speech that left the audience captivated. He spoke with the same intensity that defined his career, thanking fans for their support and reflecting on his journey. There were emotional moments as he acknowledged family members and talked about the legacy he hoped to leave behind. Watching him speak, fans saw glimpses of the man behind the character, someone who had struggled with the weight of fame and the expectations that came with being larger than life. His words resonated with people in ways his matches never could, revealing depth and vulnerability that the Warrior character never allowed. The next night at a major wrestling event, Warrior made his return to television for the first time in years. The crowd's reaction was thunderous as his music played and he sprinted to the ring just like old times. He cut a promo that fans would later analyze for hidden meanings, talking about Warriors living forever in the hearts and minds of those who believe. His words seemed prophetic in hindsight, as if he somehow knew his time was short. He spoke about every man's heart stopping one day, and how Warriors' spirits are fueled by fans who refuse to let them fade away. The speech gave everyone chills, but nobody imagined how soon those words would prove tragically relevant. On April 7, 2014, Warrior appeared on television again, this time in a more relaxed setting backstage. He seemed to be in good spirits, joking with people and soaking in the moment of his grand return. Cameras captured him looking healthy and happy, finally at peace with the company and ready to move forward. Plans were already being discussed for future appearances and possibly even a role in helping develop younger talent. The wrestling world buzzed with excitement about what came next for the Ultimate Warrior. Everything pointed to a new chapter in his story, a chance to rewrite the ending and cement his legacy properly. Later that same day, Warrior left the arena with his wife Dana. They were staying at a hotel in Arizona, and Warrior decided to take a walk. It was a beautiful evening, and he wanted to enjoy the moment after what had been an incredible few days. Dana walked beside him as they talked about the events of the weekend and what the future might hold. They had been through so much together, weathering storms that would have destroyed weaker relationships. She had stood by him through controversies, career setbacks, and the long years away from wrestling. Now it finally seemed like things were coming together. As they walked through the hotel parking lot, Warrior suddenly collapsed. Dana immediately called for help, panic setting in as she realized something was terribly wrong. Emergency responders arrived quickly and attempted to revive him, but it was too late. The Ultimate Warrior was pronounced dead at the age of 54, his heart having given out without warning. The man who seemed indestructible, who had been full of life just hours earlier, was gone. News spread rapidly through the wrestling community and beyond, with fans refusing to believe what they were hearing. It seemed impossible that someone so vital could be taken so suddenly. The autopsy revealed that Warrior died from cardiovascular disease, his heart severely damaged by years of strain. The official cause was atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, a condition where plaque builds up in the arteries and restricts blood flow. His heart was significantly enlarged, a condition called cardiomegaly that often results from prolonged physical stress and other factors. Medical experts pointed to the combination of intense physical training, the stress of performing, and lifestyle choices that many wrestlers of his era made. His death wasn't a mystery, it was the inevitable result of pushing his body beyond its limits for decades. What made his death even more shocking was the timing. He had just reconciled with the wrestling world, just been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and just made his triumphant return to television. Fans were devastated not just by losing him, but by losing him at a moment when everything seemed to be falling into place. The speeches he gave during those final appearances took on haunting new meaning, with people wondering if he somehow sensed what was coming. His words about Warriors living forever and every man's heart eventually stopping seemed less like promos and more like farewell messages. The wrestling industry reacted with an outpouring of grief and tributes. Wrestlers past and present shared memories and expressed shock at the sudden loss. Many noted how tragic it was that Warrior finally made peace with his past only to have it taken away so quickly. The company dedicated programming to honoring his memory, airing classic matches and moments from his career. Fans around the world held vigils and shared their favorite Warrior memories online. The impact of his death rippled through popular culture, reminding everyone of the dangers inherent in professional wrestling and the toll it takes on performers. His family was left to process an unimaginable loss. Dana had been by his side for years, supporting him through everything, and now she had to navigate life without him. His daughters lost their father at a time when he was rediscovering his passion and reconnecting with his legacy. The suddenness made it harder, with no time to prepare or say proper goodbyes. One moment they were celebrating his success, the next they were planning his funeral. The cruelty of the timing wasn't lost on anyone who knew the family or followed the story. Investigation into his final days revealed just how much damage his body had sustained over the years. Medical professionals who examined the autopsy results noted that his heart showed signs of long-term stress and wear. The cardiovascular disease that killed him had been developing for years, likely decades, building silently until it reached a critical point. Warning signs may have existed, but either went unnoticed or were ignored in favor of maintaining the demanding schedule he kept. Even in his later years away from active wrestling, the damage continued progressing, his heart unable to recover from the abuse of his earlier life. Former wrestlers spoke openly about the culture that led to tragedies like Warrior's death. The pressure to maintain impossible physiques, work through injuries, and never show weakness created an environment where health concerns were dismissed or hidden. Many admitted to making similar choices, sacrificing their bodies for their careers and paying the price later. Warrior's death became part of a larger conversation about wrestler wellness and the need for better health monitoring and support. changes started happening in the industry, with more emphasis placed on cardiovascular health and long-term well-being of performers. His legacy became complicated after his death. While many celebrated his contributions to wrestling, others pointed to controversial statements he had made during his speaking career. Warrior had expressed views that offended many people, touching on sensitive topics in ways that sparked outrage. Balancing appreciation for his wrestling career with criticism of his personal views created tension among fans and within the industry. Some argued his Hall of Fame induction should stand as recognition of his in-ring work, while others felt his offensive statements tarnished his legacy irreparably. The debate continues to this day, with no clear resolution. The Ultimate Warrior Award was created in his honor, given annually to individuals who embodied his spirit of perseverance and courage. Recipients have included people battling serious illnesses, overcoming incredible obstacles, and inspiring others through their strength. The award attempts to focus on the positive aspects of Warrior's message about never giving up and fighting through adversity. It serves as a way to remember him while supporting causes that align with the better parts of his philosophy. Each presentation reminds people of both his impact and his complicated humanity. Fans continue to debate what could have been if Warrior had lived longer. Would he have become a regular presence in wrestling again, mentoring younger talent and making special appearances? Could he have found redemption for his controversial statements and rebuilt relationships damaged over the years? The possibilities exist only in imagination now, cut short by a heart that finally couldn't take anymore. His potential second act in wrestling lasted less than a week, barely enough time to scratch the surface of what might have been accomplished. The shocking nature of his death served as a wake-up call for many in the wrestling world. Active performers started taking their health more seriously, getting regular checkups and addressing problems before they became fatal. The industry implemented stricter wellness policies and offered better support for talent struggling with health issues. While these changes came too late for Warrior and others who died young, they potentially saved lives going forward. His death became a catalyst for positive change, even as it represented a tragic loss. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to stay updated on more incredible stories from the world of wrestling. Hit that notification bell so you never miss content about the legends who shaped this industry and the shocking truths behind their lives. The Ultimate Warrior's story reminds us that even the mightiest warriors are human, vulnerable to the same forces that affect us all, and his legacy continues to inspire discussions about health, legacy, and the true cost of fame.